This is the tutorial for the personalized name tag project. When using Photopea.com, you have the option of creating an account. I would recommend doing so because it allows you to save your progress in the account without having to download it every time you want to save your progress. To create an account, click the Account button and then click Login. You're going to want to log in with Google and then use your GMHS email account. I didn't have to enter my password because I already have an account, but you will need to enter your GMHS email account password when you are trying to link it to Photopea.com. Even though this screen is showing a lot of prices, the basic account is free. To begin our current project, you're going to start by clicking File, New, then change the dimensions from pixels to inches, change the file name from New Project to your first name underscore your last name underscore name tag. You want the dimensions to be 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, 3.5. And the DPI should be 300. DPI stands for dots per inch. It's also sometimes called PPI or pixels per inch. That's basically the number of color dots in every inch of the image. 300 DPI is suitable for printing. 72 DPI is only suitable for web or screen use. Keep the background color set to white and then hit Create. Because this is a name tag, I'm going to start by adding a layer of text. Over here are all of my tools, and if you hover over one, it'll show you what it is. See, that's the blur tool, dodge tool, and here's the type tool. So I will take the type tool, click it, and then click on my canvas, and it gives me a cursor to start typing my name. You'll notice over here is the layers panel. The layers are the different layers or levels of the image. We have now a background layer, and when I clicked the text tool onto the canvas, it created an additional text layer. To edit this text, I'm going to double click it so it's highlighted, and that allows me to change the size of it all the way up to 150 pixels, which I'm going to do that maximum size, and then do a hard return so that I have them on two separate lines. And I can change the font. One nice thing about Photopea is that it allows you to filter fonts by their type. So if I uncheck all and only check, say, hand-drawn, it will only show me fonts that have a handwriting style. You can use that feature to quickly find a font that is interesting to you and suits your personal style. I chose this fun-looking, kind of disorganized, chaotic font because that's how I'm feeling today. And I want it a little bit bigger. So even though this slider only goes up to 150 pixels, I can double-click this and manually type in a larger size, like 230 pixels, or let's try 200. I can also highlight this and change it so it's centered, or right justified, or left justified. And I can move the whole thing with the Move tool up here to reposition it. If I want this to be on two separate layers, I can go back to the text tool, highlight part of it, and now I'm using my keyboard to hit Control X. Now I'm going to click away and then click back to the type tool, click on the canvas again and hit Control V. Now I have two separate layers over here, one for Dina and one for Hoink. And I can move those individually anywhere I want on the canvas. If I want to move this one, I have to click the layer and then move it. If I don't want to have to click the layer, by the way, you can hit Auto Select up here, and then your Move tool will grab whatever you are clicking on. So that is a personal preference. For me, it depends on what project I am working on and how many layers it has. If you have a lot of layers, that Auto Select can get pretty frustrating. If you keep Auto Select off, you can also use the Move tool and specify what layer you want by right-clicking and selecting the layer. Now we can also use the Type tool to change the color of my type. So if I double-click it again, I can come up here and click here, and that's where I'm going to enter that hex code that we got from coolors.co. Here is Coolors, so remember we made our color palettes. I can come here and click the color, copy it, and then go back here and paste it into this spot where the hex key is. I just hit Control V to paste, and I hit OK. And now that is the color that I wanted it to be. For my design, I want the word Dina to be larger than the word Hoink. I want them the same width. So what I could do is I could double click and change the size and experiment with that until it's exactly the right size. But I can also come here and use the Move tool with the Transform Controls box checked, holding Shift on the keyboard to keep it from stretching out like this. I can scale it up. So I'm holding Shift and clicking and dragging to make it the same width as the word Hoink. And then I hit Enter on my keyboard to confirm that change. Now I can move this around as I want. I'm going to move Hoink around and get everything lined up the way I like. Now I'm ready to add some color to my background. I am going to use a simple gradient to start. Gradient is a blend of colors. Gradient tool is right here. And if I click this drop down, it gives me some pre-populated options, but I want to make my own using the colors that I created in my color palette. I need to look down here. These are the foreground and background color for things that I create in this program. If I click the foreground color, it gives me an option to put in a hex code, so I can paste one in. And then I can do the same for the background color. So I'm going back to Coolers, clicking on this color, copying it, then coming back, highlighting the hex code, hitting Control V, and OK. You can see that my gradient tool has changed and shows the two colors that I have put into my foreground and background. There are options here for linear, radial, angle, reflected, and diamond. So let's see what those look like. Linear is like this. Radial is like this, it's a circle. Angle is like this, kind of swoops around. Reflected like that, it's like a stripe. And diamond is like a starburst kind of pattern. I like a simple linear gradient for what I'm doing here, but you do you. If I hold Shift, it's going to keep it perfectly straight up and down. If I don't hold Shift, I can make it go any direction. So experiment with that and see what you like. The longer the line is, the longer the blend will be. The shorter the line is, the shorter the blend will be. These are matters of personal preference. Again, experiment with it and see what looks really good to you. I kind of like that, actually. That looks pretty great. Okay. The other required element on this name tag is that you write what class period you are in. So I'm putting 3rd period as an example, but if you're in 5th, 6th period or 8th period, please list that. And I'm going to play around with the color on that to see what I like best in that area as well. So another way that you can select colors is by using the eyedropper tool, which is right here. That allows you to click and select a color anywhere on the canvas. You see that it's pulling it up in here. And there's a similar function when I'm in the type tool. So if I highlight the type by triple clicking it there, and I go up here, I can use the color picker in here, but I can also put those crosshairs, this little plus sign, anywhere on my canvas to grab a color out of the canvas that's already there. That's a little too dark, but I'm going to play around with that and make it something that works for me. You may also want to play around with warping your text. To do that, you can select it and then go to Warp, Style, and you can change it to be bent or curved in different ways. So that can be something fun to play around with. You can manipulate all these settings. Just something worth messing with for this project. Just use the bulge warp to get this effect, but I'm not going to keep that. So if I want to undo it, I can do Edit, Undo. I can hit Control Z to undo it. I can also go over here to my History panel. The History panel lets you go back up to 30 moves, I believe, on the free account. So it lets you undo changes that you did even multiple changes ago. When you're done with your work, you're going to hit File, Save as PSD, and save it to your desktop. And then you'll upload it into our Google Drive folder. From our Echo homepage, you can click the Google Drive shared folder, go into the name label project, and then grab from your downloads this file and just click and drag it right there. And you'll want to do that at the end of every day of work. When we are 100% done with the project and we really like the way it looks, we're going to actually make it double-sided. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to start by flattening the image. Once I've done this, I will no longer be able to edit the type. So make sure that you're really done and that you've gotten the stamp of approval from me and from somebody else in the class too, that you've gotten feedback and we all said, hey, that looks great. I will right click and click Flatten Image. Now it is all one layer. Now I'm going to select the entire canvas by hitting Control A. And we can see the marching ants going around it, that little dotted line. And I'm going to hit Control C to copy what's there. Now I'm going to go to Image, Canvas Size. Change that to inches. And instead of 3.5 inches tall, I want it to be 7 inches tall. So I'm going to change that to 7 and make sure that my anchor is at the bottom. And I'm going to hit OK. Now if I want to fit the whole thing on, I'm going to hit Control 0, and that zooms out so I can see the whole screen. Finally, I'm going to hit Control V, and that pastes my original thing on as a new layer. And I will use the Move tool to rotate that 180 degrees. Holding Shift makes it easier to get a perfect rotation. And I'm going to scoot that up, again, holding Shift. Nope, holding Shift doesn't matter for this one. There we go. And now I have something that we can print as a double-sided name tag, so that when we print it, we'll be able to simply fold along that seam and we'll have the image on each side of the tag. Now that I'm totally done editing, I can export my final file as a PNG, which stands for Portable Network Graphics. That is a almost universal image file, which is easily read by a lot of different programs. I will hit File, Export as PNG, and then I'm going to hit Save. And it is in my downloads. There are lots of other tips and tricks to learn about using Photopea, but I hope you find this tutorial to be a good starting point for this project.